in 4, 3, 2, 1 is
And then we're gonna push our buttons for blast off, right?
Okay. I'd like to call the 7 PM work session meeting to order. Can I have the roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Boonstra?
Here.
Mr. Madigan?
Here.
Ms. Fisher?
Here.
Mayor Shanley?
Here. Reading of the open work session statement.
This regular work session meeting of the Wyckoff Township Committee is now in session. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting appeared on our annual schedule of meetings. A copy of said annual schedule has been posted on the bulletin board of Memorial Town Hall. The copy has been filed with the Township Clerk. The Record, the Ridgewood News, and the North Jersey Herald and News, all newspapers having general circulation throughout the Township of Wyckoff. At least 48 hours prior to this meeting, the agenda thereof was similarly posted, filed, and mailed to said newspapers.
Very good. Has the Finance Committee reviewed and signed the vouchers?
They have, Mr. Mayor?
Excellent. At this time, I'd like to call 10-minute public comment period, 2 minutes per speaker, for public comment on any governmental issue that a member of the public feels may be of concern to residents of the Township of Wyckoff.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seeing none, motion to close to the
Second.
public?
All in favor?
Aye. All right, Bob, we're going to review the 8 PM business meeting.
Yes, I will, Mr. Mayor, thank you. The agenda that you have in front of you with an extra copy has been posted as of October 10th, 2020 on the Township's webpage. I would like to propose 2 additional changes or additions to the agenda. One is Resolution 20-120, which recognizes that February 10th is the 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote. And 121, I was visited by the fire chief today. He requested that the Township Committee appoint a lieutenant to Fire Company Number 2. The chief at Fire Company Number 2, his wife is having a baby, and they need some additional leadership in Company 2, so they want to utilize the leadership of Joseph Alvarez Sr. So those 2 resolutions are proposed to be added to the agenda, and they are in front of governing body members. The other thing I'd like to point out is that ordinance number 1904 establishes the funding of the purchase of an inspection car for the construction official whom is Mr. Gensheimer. We do not have a car that's available on the co-op or state contract. However, what this ordinance does is it puts the authorization in place when a contract is available and vehicles are available on a lot for him. The car that he's using right now is very close to the end of its useful life.
Okay. All right. With regard to the resolution 20-120, that's the 19th Amendment, we're missing Melissa Rubenstein tonight. I had a request that maybe it be moved to the February meeting so that she could be here and present for it. I didn't know she wasn't going to be here, and that's why during my lunch, I spent a little time putting history on it. Because I felt it wasn't beefed up enough, knowing that women for 70 years before that amendment was enacted were fighting for it. And I think it needed a little bit more history in it to reflect that. So, but I don't have a problem, keeping it and holding it to our first February meeting, if that's what everyone else wants to do.
Okay with me.
I would agree with that. We're fortunate enough to have 2 women on our governing body here. I think they should both be present when that's on the agenda.
Yes. I think it was a big step in our country's history that finally gave women the right to vote. So I think we should take it seriously. Okay?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, when it comes time for that, I will skip over 120 and I will list 121.
All right, very good. Does anyone have a problem with the 121 being listed? Okay, very good.
I have a question though on the vehicle. or
Yeah.
the building inspector.
Yes, Mr. Boonstra.
I understand we're just authorizing it at this point. Is there any, or will there be any discussion, and I would like there to be some discussion on the type of vehicle we buy?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I had a rather lengthy discussion on the vehicle with Mr. Madigan, who visited me one afternoon.
Okay.
And we
Quite a
had,
while.
we had quite a few different staff members looking for hybrids and other vehicles that were available. And the impression that I had is that the governing body would like to see a hybrid vehicle.
Or an electric vehicle, possibly.
So
Okay, as long as we're gonna have a discussion on it, that's fine.
what I will do is to take that as direction that you
Okay.
want to have the final say in that purchase,
All right.
and we will do that.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything else, Bob?
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to go over, if I can, item 7, which is some policy action items, and I will try to be brief. Monday, January 20th at 7 PM, we will be having a JIF elected officials training in this room. I thank the governing body for willing to take that training.
What was the date of that again?
January 20th, next Monday. You will each be earning a $250 credit, as will I, towards our insurance assessment cost. The second Historic Preservation Commission meeting was conducted. Mr. Boonstra and Ms. Fisher had chaired the meeting. I provided you in your packet minutes. I'm sure more will be said about that. I would like to thank the members of the Township Committee as well as the members of the Board of Health who volunteered their time and service on Saturday, January 11th, at the free rabies clinic. Your participation and volunteerism saved us from having to hire additional folks. And just to give you a perspective, 143 dogs and 21 cats were received the rabies vaccine and also were licensed, so that's very positive. I would like to recognize Mary Ellen and Joyce, who did a very good job, as always, organizing the event. We have 2 additional budget meetings. The Finance Committee is Mr. Madigan and Ms. Rubenstein. We will be meeting on January 16th and January 23rd. The Joint Insurance Fund, which we're an active member, has as its reorganization meeting this Thursday at 5:30. Ms. Fisher and I will be attending. You saw in your packet that the New Jersey League of Municipalities has again issued their annual scholarship competition, which is an essay contest that students can submit on what my governing body does best. That information you'll start to be seeing on our social media posts, our weekly e-news communication, and we will be providing it to the Wyckoff High Schools. Just as a reminder, the Township Committee bins have been reorganized based on first of the year. I just want to point out the New York Times wrote an article on January 8th, 2020, which lists Wyckoff as a wonderful hometown to raise a family. I have posted it on the website under new resident information. I think that that's very interesting. I just wanted to give you an update. The police leadership in the police committee continues its efforts to hire a police officer for the vacancy, which was created by the retirement of Sergeant Kellogg. A promotional exam is going to be conducted by a third-party independent police entity, which is the New Jersey Chiefs of Police, to 7 of the 9 patrolmen who qualify for the sergeant rank. That exam will be at the library, and it will be done on January 16th as well. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, bids are due for the Greenwood Avenue improvement. And Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask you, we received a request for a proclamation in favor or in recognition of a Wyckoff resident who's going to be the president of the Bergen County Bar Association. I don't know if you all.
Yeah, is that Mr. Maurice?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
I
really?
did see that.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't, if nobody has a problem, I don't
No,
have a
that's
problem
great. It's quite
giving
an
him a
honor.
proclamation. I believe he's going to become the Bergen County Bar President in March.
You are
And
correct.
I think there's a dinner in May.
That's good.
His wife is Superior Court Judge.
Yeah, no, she's a prosecutor for the prosecutor's
I'm
office.
sorry.
Yeah, that's quite an honor.
Yeah.
That's great.
So then I will draft that proclamation for you to
That'd be great.
review. and
Thank you.
We'll put that together. And Mr. Mayor, that's all the items I believe that I have at this point.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. We'll have the report of the Township Committee. Rudy, you want to start?
Thanks, Mayor. I too attended the rabies clinic on Saturday. This was a very nice event, as it always is. See lots of cool animals and hang out with lots of cool people. So it was a good event. And I thank Joyce and Mary Ellen for their efforts in organizing it and the Board of Health for their participation. As Bob mentioned, Beth and I attended the Historic Preservation Commission meeting, and they elected a chairman, Mr. Swenson, and a vice chair, Ms. Caprio, which I think were good choices. There was a robust discussion about where we go from here, and everyone was sent home with some plans, and I'll let Beth flesh that out a little more if she'd like to. And just to keep it brief, I attended the Zabriskie House trustees meeting on Friday, along with Melissa. And it was Mark DeGennaro's first meeting. He is the new member of the board, and Judy Allen is no longer a member. And the board also reorganized, and Jean Hildebrand was elected as president, Rich Lynch vice president, and Jim Abnett is the treasurer. There is no secretary named as of yet. We talked about a number of things from finance to marketing to scout projects and operations, to the major improvement as far as strengthening the structure of the house, which is on track, but the possibility of including an ADA bathroom is up for discussion again. Now it may look like there may not be a plan to put it in the basement at the same level as the judge's study, but possibly again to look into constructing some sort of a period-looking structure, a freestanding structure, which will actually allow greater flexibility in using this site if anyone wants to hold an activity outdoor. It's much more conducive to that, so that's kind of up in the air right now. We're looking into whether that's possible through the grant. We also had a discussion, and this, I'll end on this, that the four-member, there's so much going on with Zabriskie now, it's almost too much for the four trustees to handle. And they need some help, and we're looking at a model, something like the Environmental Commission, where there is a support group of volunteers to help the trustees themselves. So we'll be coming back to the governing body with things like that, with an idea like that, probably in the next couple of months. But that is out there. I just want everyone to know that. And we'll put out the call for volunteers. This is an opportunity for anyone who's interested in historical Wyckoff to get involved, as did the people with the Historic Trust Commission and all the rest of it. So I just want to put that out there. And I think that's all I'm going to report on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth, would you like to go?
Sure. So as Rudy mentioned, we had the Historic Preservation Commission. That is always so energizing. Everyone is very enthusiastic. I think the chair and vice chair selection were quality, and everyone is, as I said, very thorough and enthusiastic. We are currently working on compiling a list. So everyone was given sort of a quadrant of Wyckoff to investigate any potential historic structures, and so those that's what we're working on until we reconvene. Until next time, I attended the Board of Education, 2 meetings actually. They had one last week as the reorg and then just one last night. So Rob Franson is the president, Lisa Martone is the vice. They selected a superintendent, but unfortunately, I got her first name and not her last name. I apologize for that. She's going to be offered a 5-year contract starting in July. They are doing kind of a roadshow for their Board of Ed meetings. So last night was at Eisenhower, and they had several student groups speak, which were extremely impressive, and they were great public speakers, so that was really nice to see. Student council reps, Mad for Kids, Model UN, and STEM Challenge. And they are putting out the tentative school calendar, so I don't know that really affects anybody here except you and I, but it is going to be out for the next 30 days and then approved for final approval in March.
And that's for 2021, right?
2021.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. Board of Ed. Oh, and then I had a Board of Health meeting. One thing of note I just wanted to mention is they are holding a townwide program on vaping at the library on February 27th with representatives from the county, from Valley Hospital, and someone from Ramapo College is coming to speak. That's at the Wyckoff Library. And they also had a speaker from Care Plus there that was interesting, talking about outpatient addiction programs. And one final thing I wanted to mention is I attended the Safety and Security Summit on Sunday that was put together by Jewish Federation. And they also have some upcoming training for law enforcement as well as health officials that I was going to share that information. And I also have grants available for institutions to harden their entrances for hardening security. So that was a really interesting presentation. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Beth. Tom?
Got a couple of things. First of all, I just want to send well wishes to Melissa. Hope that she's back to full health real soon. And hope everything she convalesces goes well. Melissa and I had a finance committee meeting last week, kind of our initial kickoff. Kind of went through some of the capital items and didn't get overly far because we wanted to get a better overview. We have scheduled meetings for this Thursday, the 16th, and the following Thursday, the 23rd, so we can kind of flush out between fire, police, and DPW some of the capital items. So looking forward to doing that. We had a police committee meeting. We talked about a few things, and I just wanted to report, and I think we talked a little bit about it, is, as we know, we are looking for a replacement officer to replace Dan Kellogg. As we all recall, the process is the candidates that applied take a written exam, and then they go through a rigorous interview process amongst the various police personnel. Then the top 5 candidates come to the police committee, which consists of the police commissioner, deputy police commissioner, Bob Shannon, the administrator, and the police chief. We then rate the candidates, and we put the whole thing together. Currently, we do have an officer, a potential officer that we hope to get on the agenda for the February 4th agenda. And right now, with the police chief, Dave Murphy, is just waiting for the final physical and psychologicals to go through so that we can have a new officer here to be sworn in on February 4th. Rec Board, I met with the Rec Board last night, and then Tim and I subsequently met with the Booster Group. And if everybody recalls, I've done an extensive summary of kind of where we were on our turf field project, including the funds from the booster group, and where everything fit in. And one of the components that we were looking to kind of solve or resurrect or make sure was on the table was, as we move forward, replacement carpet in 10 years, so let me pass these around. I do have a summary, which I put together this afternoon, just so everybody has the information. It's Rudy's. This is Melissa's. This is Beth's. I'm gonna go a little slow through this just so that nothing gets lost, but we did talk.
You want to take Melissa's? She's
Oh,
not
look at
here.
Melissa's?
No, sorry. Yeah. Thanks.
So, just going from the top, we had a regularly scheduled meeting and the second meeting with the booster group. We discussed on moving forward on the proposed turf and Memorial Field, planning for our winter, early spring. The hope is to, or the plan is to have an ordinance in place for the February 4th meeting and then subsequent February 18th. Melissa Rubenstein and I chatted about it at length at the Finance Committee, and she's fully supportive, as she was the last time she was here. She wanted to make that known. And just to remind everybody, there's many advantages to the proposed recreation field. I know some people think it's for one sport or another, but the biggest advantage is you're able to play during and after inclement weather. It's a multi-sport play, and outdoor sports lighting is available on that field. There's also some other advantages which I've put in as my final summary on the turf field, which was discussed, including enhanced drainage. There will be no longer any use of any, or need for any sprinklers, so we'll be conserving water. There'll be no need for fertilizing and using any chemicals or materials on the fields. And also be a labor savings because we're not going to be maintaining the clay area on the two baseball fields on that field. And as I noted on my last memo, the overall benefit, and this was reconfirmed to the Wyckoff Recreation Program, is the inclusive use for football, girls softball, baseball, recreation soccer, adult softball, cheerleading, and travel baseball and softball. We had a question in the past as far as what we do for the carpet 10 years from now. We know the budget law does not permit a sinking fund, so the conversation was focused on adding a turf field usage charge, which had come up in the rec board in the past year and a half. So the recreation program for those that are specifically using that field. It's not quite the same as a sinking fund, but the revenue received over the expected 10-year usage will help replace the field carpet. And those using the field are actually paying towards that replacement. Number 6 in my memo, I did go through it. I took the time to go through during the day. It was reconfirmed last night, the various sports and how many people are using the sports. On an annual basis, you have 1,992 between football, baseball, girls softball, men's softball, rec soccer, cheerleading, travel baseball, travel softball. And his recommendation, which is on your dais somewhere, from the rec director, reconfirming that the rec board voted unanimously recommended that a $15 fee be added to those sports programs utilizing those fields. And you see the total down below, which is almost $29,000 annually. Summer sports program, there's some sports clinics. The recommendation was to add a $5 fee to those sports clinics. And again, any other usage that may come up to utilize those fees on a fee basis. We already know that we have US Sports rents out our fields currently. And actually yesterday around noontime, for the first time, and it came up last night at the rec board meeting, at the booster meeting, the first thing that came to everybody's attention was that the Torpedoes also desire to be able to use the fields in spring and in the fall, specifically on Sunday mornings. Obviously, there was a lively discussion with the boosters in the rec board as far as the rec department, which is Andy Wingfield, has to schedule a field, availability. And there was also some surprise. Again, I'm new as a liaison to the rec board. And there was some discussion that they were kind of surprised because the Torpedoes hadn't shown a lot of interest, but we're going to further discuss it with Tim, myself, Andy, and representatives from the Torpedoes. Again, the key is the availability of the field, scheduling, and then the dollars that'll be generated from the use by the Torpedoes, which will also be part of funds moving forward. And members of the Recreation Board, the Booster Group, expressed a concern on the field, and Scott was there for the booster portion, but they did express a concern of having multiple lines on the field, and everybody agreed that the various representatives from specific sports will take a look at it, make sure that everybody's in sync, and before we go forward, that we have the appropriate lines as needed or not needed. And again, with the anticipation of February 4th and February 18th, Scott's working diligently to reconfirm how we can get this on state contract within the budgetary numbers that were provided to everybody. And if everything goes as scheduled, the anticipated groundbreaking, hopefully they're going to have a big fundraiser at the end of April, beginning of May. And as we discussed the last time, they're trying to do one last fundraiser with the goal of trying to raise an additional 40 to 50,000, which will go right now to the field that is being planned to be put on there. There was also a spirited discussion from the boosters about additional donations, scoreboard, other enhancements that Roger's promoting, and we'll get all that cleared, how that would work, how that can happen, what's legal, what's not legal, because, including me, we're not quite sure, but Roger's very enthusiastic about doing something like that for the fields as well. And I just attached on the memo, the previous memo you all got, which was the December 18th memo, which talked about the various procedures. So with that, I don't know if we need, Mr. Mayor, any confirmation from the Township Committee to move forward with an ordinance. The next meeting's in 3 weeks. Scott will have all of his information reconfirming in everybody's hands of any additional questions in the next 7 to 10 days.
Do any of you need any additional information from Tom or I?
I would like to see some more information. It's not here and I didn't bring it with me, but something I saw, and I feel like it might have been your meeting from the 13th of December, had kind of more detail as far as a budget, and there were some things about in-kind donations. I wish I would have brought it with me. I
No, I
thought-
have that with me. I can look
You
it
have
up.
that with you?
Yeah.
I remember writing notes with a question mark saying, what are these, who are these coming from, are these confirmed?
Okay,
Do we
so,
have any more information about?
well, we're just reconfirming the numbers, but one of the
Okay.
interesting things, which is positive, is we know that we can get the carpet portion from Field Turf on a state contract, and Scott believes he can get the whole thing on a state contract, which will have further economies. And if you recall, here's the 13th memo.
Okay,
We talked about the site work, the the cost of the carpet, we talked about that Scott is updating the carpet, including an option to cool play if it's within the budget. We talked about the current cost estimate. The boosters, as we know, as they pointed out, will be getting us a check for $400,000. Again, they're gonna be doing another fundraiser.
Right.
We talked about the walking path in the field portion was a Bergen County grant. And then we were talking about the value of the stone, which brings the shortfall to the number I outlined, which was $200,000. Now, again, if it's all in, you're not gonna see that because that's gonna reduce the overall cost. But the bottom line is, from a dollars and cents, you're pretty much getting a $900,000 field for $200,000 that the township would be putting in.
The only thing I would add or clarify, and this is Tom, and I forget who was at the meeting, but with regards to the torpedoes, we did have a meeting with Mike Shigaris and some of the other board members. Tim, were you there or something?
I was there, nothing materialized out of it in terms of dollars and cents.
Right, it was in a ladder-back chair room, but they did express, and from the beginning, they've always expressed the desire to rent, to pay for time if it was available to help fund the replacement in the future. I think the issue with the torpedoes were they emptied their bank for Polis, and they didn't have money to contribute to the actual construction costs. But as far as the issue, if there's an issue or a concern with replacement in the future, they've always expressed, and at that meeting, they expressed a desire to lease time or to rent time if they can. So you can look to them for money for replacement costs in the
Right.
future if you need it.
Yeah, that's also in my report.
Yep.
Again, it came up, I've spent the last 6 weeks doing nothing but this. So it only came to my attention yesterday at noontime. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
because we'd like to embrace them. Anything we can do to help
They also,
kids on the fields, we want to do.
they also sent Andy an email today wanting to sit down and have a meeting with us, which we haven't had a chance to respond to yet.
So,
Tom, just so I'm clear here, the appropriation on ordinance 1903 amount, that is comprised of the 400,000 plus the 200,000, do I have that right?
All right, just say it again, the appropriation where?
Appropriation of 600,000.
Okay, where'd you get that?
That's the number that's in the ordinance we're introducing.
No, that ordinance is different, right, Bob? Bob, you want to comment about the ordinance tonight?
Ordinance, no,
That's okay with you, Mr. Mayor?
Rudy's asking about.
yeah, no, I know that. 1903 is not the turf field. 1903 is the sewer ordinance. What that does, Mr. Boonstra,
Okay.
is it funds, puts a funding authorization in place for sewers,
Okay.
for emergency repairs.
Okay.
If we don't do that, and we have an emergency, we have to wait until the money is appropriated.
Okay.
There is no, that money has not been earmarked at this point.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
But I would like to make a motion that we move forward and put this on for February 4th. Obviously, there'll be discussion the 4th, second reading the 18th, whatever discussion we would have or the public would have.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion, we do that.
I'll second the motion.
Sorry, just to clarify, your motion is to put the ordinance on the February 4th agenda?
Right.
Okay.
So that we can get going.
Right.
Yeah, Tim, let me second it.
Okay, go ahead.
Withdraw your second.
I will withdraw my second.
Introduce the ordinance, okay?
All in favor?
Aye.
That'll be on, we will have to draft an ordinance then with the various funding sources.
Very good.
Try to get it done as soon as
Thank
we,
you.
as soon as we can, so you can look at it prior to the meeting.
Right, and there'll be additional detail again in the next 7 to 10 days, once we confirm is it more cost-effective through the state contact. I just want to thank, and I know, Tim, you've been working on this for a while, but thanks for all the effort, particularly Scott and Andy and the rec board people and Roger Snorbush and his crowd, because they've worked pretty hard, and it's a big benefit to our kids. We saw how Poulos has impacted our recreation program, and that was a fantastic public-private partnership, a lot of parties, and this is the same thing. Okay, next thing I have is, just want to report one other thing, I think there's one other thing. I did attend the Rampo Indian Hills High School 3-hour reorganization meeting.
Oh, wow.
They probably did, they did 14 of them up there. I can't remember one taking more than 45 minutes, 3 hours. But in the end, they got through it, and the current president is John Kinney from Wyckoff and Teresa Kilday from Oakland. So they got a lot going on up there, and
Teresa's what position?
vice.
Oh, vice.
And I'm enthusiastic about being the liaison from the town, but don't expect me home too early on Monday nights, it looks like. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'll be brief. I just want to thank you, Tom, for the work you've done on the Memorial Field Turf project with me. It's been very helpful, and you've detailed pretty much everything that happened in our meetings, so thank you. I also want to thank Roger Schnorbush for helping raise $400,000 for that project. He utilized his house for numerous parties for raising that money. Shipped in sand for beach parties, shipped it out, provided all the food. It's a tremendous fundraising that he did for that to raise $400,000. It's not easy to do. Plus, he's still trying to raise further money for the phase 2, the stands and the snack shop that they want to put in over there. Which obviously we don't have the money for that project now, but. Roger did a great job, and I think he deserves hands for doing something like that. The planning board also met this week. I went to the meeting. No business was taken care of other than reorganizing and choosing the chairman. Rob Fortunato was chosen to chair the meetings, and the vice chair was Mr. Pervin. But all the applications were adjourned and carried to the February meeting. I just want to report one thing on the Wyckoff zoning board that occurred in December, which I didn't get a chance to at the reorg meeting. One of the issues that came up was at the Wyckoff Shopping Center. A barber came in for a parking variance that he needed. And I had sat on the zoning board a number of different times. And I've been the liaison to the zoning board since I got on 3 years ago. And no application ever had to come before the zoning board for a parking issue until the barber came in. Is there something we need to look at, Bob, and Rob, about, whether or not a hair stylist, or like a barber, is being held to a higher parking issue than a hardware store that was there that didn't need, and then a Chinese restaurant came in, and something, there's been a lot of turnover. Pizza Love didn't even have to come in.
Different uses require different parking requirements. I will say this, I'm kind of surprised that, I don't know how often you attend a zoning board meeting, but I'm surprised that they don't get more of it, because unless it's a subdivision or a site plan, the zoning board hears parking variances for commercial uses. They
Right.
have jurisdiction. So most towns get them quite often, but I will say, I remember when we redid the parking requirements in the zoning board, we did a major overhaul, I'm gonna say maybe it was 15 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago. And out of all the uses, and we went to our planner for advice for the parking requirements, out of all the uses, I think it's been pretty reasonable, except for the nail salon, hair salon, to my recollection, it's 1 per 50, which is incredibly,
That's a
of
lot.
parking.
And that's probably why they had to come
Right.
before the zoning board.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they see they need a parking variance too, they may decide to go, I don't know why they're not getting more, but yeah, that may be one aspect of our
Okay.
ordinance you want to look at, and quite honestly, and we can talk, it might be more appropriate for a zoning board meeting, and the report that comes from them annually.
Okay.
They should produce a report annually, but you may wanna look at your parking, maybe time to take a look at our parking ordinance, only because the world's changed. We don't
Right.
have the retail that we used to.
Right.
And we have to start being a little more flexible and look into the future a little bit, because
Okay.
we don't have a lot of vacancies, but you certainly don't wanna get to a point where you're
Right.
gonna see a lot of vacancies.
I agree. And that's my concern, and that's why I brought it up and wanted to ask you that
Mr. Mayor?
question. Yes.
It was, I had heard that last year, as well as another one over here in the corner. It was my understanding that that was gonna be addressed and updated when we had a municipal planner and tied into the master plan, which is scheduled for 2020, so
Oh,
that was
yes.
my understanding, but I don't know if Rudy
Yeah,
can comment on that.
We've heard comments that needs to be looked at. I didn't know it was my understanding, that it just needs to be looked at. I know it was in
Okay.
conjunction with the master
What I
plan,
would-
but I think we should look into, we need to address the issue of municipal planner for the master plan redo.
Right.
And I think that would be a good time to look at it.
Okay.
Tom's point.
All right.
And,
very
and
good.
I also know, because of where I get my hair cut, that Millen Park has the similar type
God bless.
God
need
bless
to update, and it has to do particularly with the density of barbers, hair salons. And the one I go to has 20 spaces there, and I've never seen more than 6 cars, but,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, so
Maybe a question for.
things have changed, you know?
On the zoning board, turning over Midland Park, I think they, over there, we counted by service station, not so much square footage. And service station meaning, each.
Chairs?
Chair.
Chairs.
Each chair.
Right, I think we do too here.
I think probably the best thing to do, at least where we might be able to help you immediately, if you guys want to start looking at it, there's no rush. Maybe Tom and I can get you ordinances from some of the towns around here, so you have an idea what maybe Franklin Lakes and Ramsey and Adelaide are doing, and you
Right.
can see if you like those, and whether or not they work in those towns.
Right.
And then we talk to our planner, and we decide if you want to make a change.
Right.
Okay,
And,
very
and,
good.
and I know specifically, because I looked into it, that Ridgewood had updated all of theirs, I believe that was 18, and, things from haberdashers and, just to update it, make it current. It's a good point.
Well, I mean, the good thing about the application coming before the zoning board is I believe Mark DeGenero picked up on the fact that that parking lots really doesn't have ADA compliant parking, and they're going to look into whether or not they should be putting some ADA parking that is lacking. So that could be the benefit of it actually coming before. Bob, I think you commended our engineer for bringing that to the forefront.
Yes, I did, and I think it was very perceptive of Mark. Although that property is not a pre-existing non-conforming use, it doesn't have a valid site plan. And in that case, there are no ADA spots, and
Right,
they did the math by the number of parking spots that exist, because that's the methodology on how many ADA
Right.
spots are needed. And I think the condition of approval required in the spring that those ADA spots be added in the shopping center to the satisfaction of the township engineer.
yeah,
So I think that was a great catch on his part, because that's a quality of life enhancement to have those
Right.
spots and have them located near stores, not the farthest spots away from the entrance to the stores. I would like to mention, Rob, you are correct, about 15 years ago, the township committee relooked at the parking requirements, and there were many changes that were made. One was 10 by 20 spots to 9 by 18. Do you remember what the barber and nail salon was? Was it 1 per 100 when it went to 1 per 50?
My guess it was 1 per 150 or 1 per 100.
It's low.
One per 50 is,
That's pretty
that's a lot
tight.
of space.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of space.
right. Okay, all right, very good. I also attended the rabies clinic, well-attended. My 5-year-old son loved looking at all the dogs and the cats, so that was a good day. The police committee meeting, I attended as well as the police commissioner, and thanks, Tom, you did a great job of reporting. The one item that we talked about that came up is the hybrid vehicle is finally supposed to be hitting the assembly line this Friday. So hopefully it happens. I mean, we've been waiting since July for that to happen. So they got a report that it's supposed to hit Ford's assembly line this Friday, And if that happens, 3 to 4 weeks delivery is expected, and they're gonna try to expedite that and move it up 1 week. So let's see, hopefully that happens. And then the only other things I did was, on Saturday, I attended the Northwest Bergen Mayor's Meeting in Ramsey. And then this morning, I attended the Bergen Mayor's Meeting in Hackensack at the Coach Diner. Met some of the mayors from Bergen County, which I think could be helpful in sharing ideas and moving forward as mayor. So that's my report. Rob, do you have a report?
Yeah, real quick, we did the physical inspection of 240 Denvers, and things look pretty good. I don't have the report in my hand yet, but I walked it while I did most of it. It was no oil tanks, no evidence of oil tanks. It was coal, and the coal burner's still down there. The coal's actually down there if you guys look over and see it.
Really?
I brought back a couple pieces for keepsake.
Nice.
Too bad Christmas is over.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of my kids I could have
Yeah, right?
reminisced
They're
about.
still
with
funding
coal.
down there for next year. And I guess they went to propane, and it was really, I mean, I don't know the last time someone worked there, but we did find a tank which we thought was a septic where it was, and they followed the line, and we opened it up today. I think it was today we did it.
It was definitely
And
septic.
it was a septic, and the septic was just rolling out, to the street or whatever, and hasn't been used for
Yeah.
those how many years, and and a very low water well with a pump, so.
Wow.
There's really there's no sewer to this house, and
That's
there's
good.
no water line either, but, so that's the good news. I mean, the house is,
Wow.
probably have to be secured a little more, but
Yeah.
we didn't find any reason to turn away and not go ahead with it.
All right, very
That's
good.
what we wanted to do.
Excellent.
So that continues to go forward, hopefully we close on that, next month. Okay, Bob and I spent a bunch of hours last week, and Bob, thank you for your help. I mean, Bob's done a tremendous amount of work on this, on the COA stuff, and getting this report ready for the court, so we can get a final hearing and get our, final order of repose. I'm just about done with 2 cell tower ordinances for town hall with Omnipoint and Verizon. I keep going back, I'm sorry, T-Mobile and Verizon. I'm just about done with that. And the only other thing I'll say, just on the record, I think the committee should be complimented, because in the last 10 or so years, you look there's plenty of headlines for towns around Bergen County, throughout the state, who try to get these turf field projects financed, and for whatever reason, they don't get done, or they're too expensive. And this will now be the second project the town's been able to do at very little cost of taxpayer. I mean, public-private partnership with Pullis, and now your other major complex behind Town Hall here.
Right.
It's in the end, I know we saw it with Pullis, I think you'll see there, it's a benefit to the kids, who just more playing time.
Yeah, and similar to what happened at Pullis, the parents their kids were utilizing it, and by the time it got built, had graduated out of the program. And this is happening to Roger Schnorbush, who has an 8th grader who's going up to the high school next year. Yet he still put his time in, put his house up, for use, and great job. He did a great job. But his child is now becoming a high school student next year, and has graduated out of the program.
Right. Yeah,
And I think that happened to you as well.
Well, a lot of us over Pullis, but, they're great projects, they're great projects for the town, and it's just nice that, and it's gotta come from everywhere. The Township Committee has supported it, the Y supported the one up there.
Yes.
You've got different organizations come together, and you're able to do it without a lot of taxpayer expense, which
Right.
was the point, which is nice.
Very good. Is that it?
Jim, I have one.
That's it.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I neglected to mention the repair, which is currently underway at the sewer pumping station on Bridle Path, in the Sunrise development off of Grandview Ave. The pumping station needed, after 20 years, needed to be rebuilt, and we're rebuilding it. And when I say we're rebuilding it, we are rebuilding it with the efforts of Scott Fisher and Mark DeGennaro for the engineering and the construction and pretty much everything. We're rebuilding on our own for a considerable.
Yeah, he had to put a retention basin in for it, didn't he?
Yeah, Scott Fisher is this week digging a hole through rock
Yes.
to put a retention tank in, which is a temporary holding tank to take the flow while we repair the main pump and the main tank inside the building. So if anyone receives calls about noise in the area, that's what's going on, because there may be a few days that are a little noisy. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Bob, do you have any additional?
I don't believe so, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, do we need to adjourn or
Yeah, we have
recess?
10 minutes for the 8 PM meeting. I have to, give me a second to adjourn the recording.
Sure. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Now,